Good morning, winners. David Johnson with Leadership Ignite Group. Joining us is Mike Schmidt, Patrick Hardy, and Clint Laney. Today's topic is time management, and I've got a debate for us. It's going to be a healthy debate. Let's talk about how trying not to multitask. All right, these days it seems like all of us have less time than we'd like to accomplish things that we want to do. The internet and social media have sped up how you get your news, how you stay in contact with people, and how you communicate with your customers. It has also caused all of us to create some bad habits. One is multitasking, right? Mike, you've got some great advice on this, such as setting time limits, right? For tasks. You spelled out a form for me to follow, and I did it on a Saturday, and I got a lot done. But it's one of those tough things here in February that we're trying to stay on task with, such as our new habits for 23, right? That started January 1st. Everybody remember those?
I remember those.
Falling off the bandwagon so bad. It's so far behind me. Like I'm just like modifying everything. But Mike, I want you tell us a little bit about how not to get too far out of hand and one thing at a time, complete that task. Because that's what worked for me on more than one occasion.
I'm glad you asked that, David. Let's see. First thing I need to do is close out of one of these documents that I've been working on as we went through the introduction there. Multitasking doesn't have to be a bad thing, but if it's causing you to do work that doesn't quite stand up to your high standards or doesn't quite meet your high standards, then it depends on what you're doing, but it just lowers the chance that you're going to have an opportunity to keep doing that, especially if you're working with a client. You know, you want to take the time, at least for me, I find that when I am multitasking, I end up lacking in customer service, making silly mistakes. And so I find that one skill or one habit I try to get into is knock out these small things first. Knock out as many of those quick, small to-dos as possible before you get started. Knock out those nagging tasks, those things that you've been needing to do for a few days. Get those done first, and then you start knocking out those big ones. And when you go to the big ones, you don't spend hours and hours and hours working on it. You spend about 25 minutes working on it. I don't know what the background of this technique is called, but it's called the Pomodoro technique. It's very simple. You just spend 25 minutes working on one single task. And then you take a 5-minute break, and then you come back to it and you reevaluate. During those 5 minutes, you're supposed to step away. But when you come back, you reevaluate a little bit about where you are at that point and realign yourself with those goals. And then you do that 4 times, and then you take a long break. But yeah, it can really help you focus on that one task. If you find that time management and multitasking are a problem, I would give it a shot for anybody out there who does struggle in those areas.
Definitely struggle. Listen, the problem I have with that is it's a little bit of a trait of my own that I've been battling, but I don't know if I can do anything without multitasking. And that's where I get out of hand, because if I'm not doing 2 or 3 things at once, and I do like that checklist, I think what keeps me driving is the way I only get anything done is I like to check it off. So I have to check something off, right? But my wife, she complains about this all the time. I'll go out and I'll start 3 jobs. I might start 4 or 5 jobs, right? Projects around the house, not finish any of them. Patrick, you're starting one heck of a structure in your backyard on your little farm. So tell me, how do you do the same thing? What do you have going on?
Well, I mean, multitasking, it's not, I don't know, like, as far as starting multiple jobs and keep them going, sometimes it's necessary. Like, for instance, I'm building a shed. Now I had to take a break and come up here and teach, so it's kind of a hiatus. I got the Tyvek on, I've got a lot of the siding on, and I got the roof dried in, so whatever bad weather, it's not going to affect it, right? And if I get back home and it's raining and I can't do the siding, well, I've got inside projects that still need to get done. And I held off on those because the weather is nice outside, and I can get that shed done, and I'm not going to be sweating so much. It's only 70 degrees out. And I start these projects and I plan on, hey, if weather's nice, I'm going to be outside working on then these projects. And if weather's not so good, I got these projects that I'm going to be knocking out. And a lot of it sometimes has to do with time. And, so I think it's good, and especially when it comes down to Mike, and I know you're familiar with this, when you have to think about like content generation or being creative, even like with my shed, for instance, I kind of got, in a headlock of, a design concept of like, hey, all right, I don't know how I'm going to accomplish this one thing, but I needed to get to this state. That way, nothing bad will happen. All right. I get, all the materials and everything's protected. I'm going to stop until I can figure things out. Just like in a website or something, you maybe get like, kind of in a headlock, like, okay, I need to kind of take a break from this, whether it's the 25 and 5, or it may be like a day. To me, that's why I love running and working out, because that's I hate to say it, multitask. I'm doing something physical, but I got to do something mental. And that's where I accomplish a lot of that problem solving and stuff. One, it's just relaxing for me. That's the way I guess I relax, but that way I can accomplish something at the same time that I'm, doing something physical, for myself, but then I get through it and I'm like, all right, I solved that problem. Now I can get back to work and finish this thing out.
Clint, I
Nice.
think yeah, I don't know this for a fact, but if I had to guess, I would think that you like having a lot of irons in the fire as well. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I'd like to pose a question before I say anything, in the sense that what is multitasking, right, Patrick? Right? What is multitasking?
Yeah, and that's it. When you get to the technical definition of multitasking and the actual capability, nobody is actually capable of true multitasking. The ability to think about two things at the same time, because what your brain does is constantly switch back and forth.
Right?
So
We
if it
juggle
involves a
balls.
thought, you
Yeah.
cannot think about two things at the same time.
At the-
And that's why
the-
talking on the phone and driving can be kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only time I multitask is when I'm watching a movie and eating at the same time. Right? That's multitasking to me. When you're
Until you miss your mouth, then you're like, oh,
until you
maybe I
miss your
should
mouth
trim
with a
this.
fork
This is
and you hit
dangerous.
your chin. Right? So I don't know. I know exactly what you mean, David, but I don't know that in the truest sense of the word, we multitask, right? Because you cannot do two things at one time. We're not designed that way. Our brains are not designed that way. Computers can multitask, but that's because they have, say, different cores, for example. But we don't have different cores. We do, however, juggle a ton of balls in the air, which begs the question, if we'll use the word multitasking and you're doing multiple jobs, are you really doing anything to the extent that it should be done? Are you completing, or are you giving your attention to the task, focusing on the task as you should? Right? Would it be, I like Mike's Palmetto theory. What is it? Pomodoro? Pomodoro, right? Where let me focus on something for 15, 20, 25 minutes. I don't know that I would ever set a time, just 15, 20, 25 minutes, then break away and then come back and review. And then if I have something else, kind of juggle, if you will. As far as multitasking, I don't know that I'm a very good multitasker.
That's kind of interesting. That brings me to an interesting, you guys play Sudoku or chess?
Yes,
Yeah.
both.
Chess.
All right. So what's really interesting is if I'm playing and I'm not playing against a person, if I am and I got time, in both situations, I'll get in a headlock, like locked up, like, man, I don't know what to do here. I can't find the available move. And I'll take a break mentally and I'll come back and then I'll find something that was so obvious, but I'm like, how did I not see that before? But sometimes you got to walk away, and because you get so tunnel vision on trying to accomplish that, you can't see the options in front of you.
The obvious, right in front of you.
Break, if being able to come back, it'll open your peripheral and allow you to see the entire picture. something that you may have missed.
That's an
Right.
excellent point, Patrick. I'm glad you said that. Time is usually what causes my multitasking to start, right? I'm looking at a schedule over here for a new client, an email pops up, and then I decide, hey, I'm going to message someone about a schedule and permission for a confirmation time. And I'm going to be waiting on them before I can pursue or move forward with the schedule, right? That I'm trying to set. So that's usually how I start out. 3 things real quick, and then it usually ends up being 6 and 9, and then of course I've got a couple of unanswered emails and follow-ups that I have to come back to later on in the day. But time is usually what is the result or the cause of why I like to do several things at once. I do like to stay on top of it, but if you don't complete it, I think that's where I get in trouble, right? Because it can add stress. Multitasking in that sense can slow me down because when it builds up, it bogs down because I'm carrying all that, right? I can't run very fast with all that, that extra stuff to do. It's distracting. Sometimes stress can play a different role. Share some
David,
other day-to-day things. Go ahead.
I
Clint.
think as much of a multitasker as you are, you're probably just as much of a planner, right? If you turn around and look behind you, you're going to see a whiteboard. All right, David, you see that whiteboard behind you, right?
Yeah.
I like to, when given the chance, get up in the morning, ease into the day, and take 15, 20, 30 minutes, all right, to focus on my day. What do I need to get accomplished today? And then kind of prioritize, right? Like there's going to be things that are going to pop in that I'm going to have to take care of, but I like to take care of them, get them done, move them out of the way, and then get back to my list. For me, a bad day is when I get to my list and I can't check off any of those little blocks, right? That is a bad day for me because I don't feel like I've accomplished anything. With that being said, how much do you plan? Look at that board behind you. How many goals do you set and how much do you plan?
Boom, boom, boom.
Multitasker.
I've got a lot laid out. That's one of many. I've got another dry erase board you can't see just right over to the left of me. Stuff that doesn't need to be on the back. Yeah, I've got 2. This is another one over here.
Here's an interesting.
You got to write it out.
Here's a philosophical kind of question. It's a little philosophical. Do you plan achievable goals or unachievable goals, and why?
So me? Who are you talking to, Patrick?
Day to day in life,
Yep.
what kind of goals do you set for yourself? Achievable or unachievable? And honestly, a lot of people will say set achievable goals. I would disagree with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You need to set unachievable goals and push yourself hard. It's just like, hey, if you're playing basketball, you're playing chess, whatever it is,
Yep.
and you win, you actually lost. Winning doesn't teach you anything. Just like achieving simple goals, all that's going to do is it may boost your confidence to allow you to, do a little bit more. But, when you get busy and successful and you've got a lot of things going on, multiple businesses and your time management, you have to prioritize, and you unfortunately have to make sacrifices. But you're always pushing yourself to put more in that day, and you can never fit everything. So if
can you imagine setting goals?
Something is wrong.
Can you imagine setting goals and then not completing anything that you've set out for your goals because they're unattainable? At some point, I don't care how strong of a person you are, you end up crashing emotionally.
Oh yeah,
right.
So
I think you have to balance.
Yeah, I can't
set some attainable and then some long term.
But hey, yeah.
But even when you fail, it's when you fail that you learn how to optimize the process. You don't learn much. You learn so much more when you fail at trying to accomplish something. That's common knowledge. You fail at something. If you have the bravery to go back and look at what all you did wrong, you're going to come back stronger the next day. What is that? Come on.
You know who says that?
Failure's not an option.
Who says
Failure's
that?
not an option.
All right. The people
Winners,
that don't win.
Winners.
The people that don't win say, I learned so much more from losing. I feel so much better. At the end of the look, you see it?
Guess what? By day 10, though, my achievable goals are greater than your unachievable goals. Though.
Second place is the first loser.
That's right. Listen, do you think that if you and I were playing chess and I beat you, right, you would have learned something from me, right? Or you would have learned something about yourself. Do you think that me as a winner, I would have not learned something from you, right? Watching you in defeat, watching how you think, watching your process. So my
I
point to
think
that is
losing
win or lose, learning
makes
is
you
a state of
dig in
mind.
deep, and it makes you motivated and figure out. You analyze your mistakes so
Yeah.
much more, because even when you win, you made mistakes. You just didn't make as many as the guy that you
Not-
competed
not-
against.
Correct, not a problem. I'll continue to win, right? And I'll keep making
Yeah.
mistakes and adjusting as I keep winning.
So, well, most people that win all the time, they don't analyze the mistakes that they've made.
See, that's being that we're
And the
generalizing.
people that lose, I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of people will. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
And I'm just calling it out as it is, because, like, you can win and progress, but you won't progress nearly as much unless you lose, but you keep on at it. And you're like, okay, why did I lose? And then you start being you can be very analytical on how you lost, and, put your head down, drive forward, and, fix all those mistakes that you made.
So
You
what
know,
you're saying
you'll
is
end up
you're going to be a
progressing
loser.
faster.
You can be a loser for 6 months, right? And you've learned so much that now you can become a winner. Or at what point do you win?
So, and this, it's not about being a winner. It's about kind of trying to master something. So you guys,
I agree,
anybody
but
play
we were
guitar?
talking about winning and losing, right? Winning and losing, right?
I
You
don't
can
really care about
master,
winning and
you
losing.
can master anything you set your mind to, but you set your mind
Well-
to it and you focus on that. We're talking about winning and losing. I'm
Okay,
telling you,
well,
I can
I'm
learn
just
just
trying
as
to
much
relate.
about you when you lose as I can about myself when I win. What's Magnuson, right? Carl Magnuson, all right, the number one rated chess player, for example, right? Doesn't lose very often. Okay, has a high rating, doesn't lose very often. Do you think he's learning anything from his opponent as he's beating him?
Didn't he disappear when the computer beat him?
No. No, he hasn't disappeared. He hasn't disappeared. The news usually comes out in the morning, right? And some people are sleeping in the mornings, can't read the news that comes out first, pop up. But I didn't say who.
There it is. Oh gosh.
So,
There
like,
it is.
I bet he does. I bet he does notice. I mean, he has to. He's got to learn a lot about how you handle defeat. We lost our basketball game today. My boys team. So I'm one of the best assistant coaches out there. So there was a big pep talk on what we did in the first half.
Mike is like,
in the second half.
Wait.
Apparently,
I'm
you're one of the
humility.
best because they
Humility.
lost.
Let's get back to that.
No.
Let's get back to that chess. Let's get back to that chess analogy.
No.
Okay.
Why
if
why
you
does
were
he
to
not
ask-
make those first 20 moves that he thinks of? Because he
Who's
can
that?
see. Because he can see in his head. He knows what's going to happen. He knows that that's going to result in that piece being lost without any potential benefit down the road. He sees what that loss is going to mean. He plays it all through because he knows what that piece is capable of and what the end goal is, right?
Yeah.
Unless if you go through life and you don't see, we don't know, we're not omniscient, we can't see into the future, so we got to make these mistakes, and we remember them, we put them in part of this equation that is with us as we go through the rest of our lives. And then before you make that step out onto the street, to wait and look for the crosswalk, right?
Yep.
Hopefully that everything isn't a live or die situation, but yeah, the chess analogy is an interesting one. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So
Do you
here's
think
the
we
interesting-
have losers? Do you think we have people that continue to make the same mistake over and over and over, never learning?
Well, so
Drug
no,
addiction can do that.
That's not
Right?
a loser. That's insanity. That's idiocracy. I mean, to quote Einstein, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is insanity.
Yep.
Now, so
Or-
if you're learning from it,
Yeah.
that's something to be taken away from. But
Who
here's the problem with
determines-
winning all the time.
Who determines
generalizing
what you're
again.
learning?
When you win all the time and that's all you're concerned with, when
Yeah.
you do lose, you get crushed and you're internally afraid of losing. So when you do lose, it's it. But when you lose occasionally,
Yeah.
and you're not the winner, one, you should, be thankful for the person you're competing with. Hey, thanks for challenging me. That's great. And learn from it. And I love competing against people that aren't afraid to lose, and I'm not afraid to lose either. And we analyze, hey, why did, that was really interesting. We'll talk about our chess game. Like, man, that was a great move. What were you thinking of when you moved that piece?
Mhm.
But it's a way for both of us to kind of get better at what we're doing.
Yep.
I think it's a mentality, right? I see where you're coming from, but I think you're talking extremes. Most people, I think, fall in the middle, right? You're talking about losing and learning and being, I'm a sore
trying to
loser,
apply it.
right? I'm a sore loser. I hate losing.
Yeah.
At anything I do, I hate
I'm
losing.
trying to apply it to day-to-day life and business in general, because you're going to lose in business. You're going to try things and they're not going to work.
Correct. You've got to be realistic. You've got to be realistic, but I'm not going to lose for a lack of trying, right? So even if I'm winning, right? It's not like I'm going to be lazy because I'm winning. It's not like I'm going to sit on my laurels and just hang out because I'm winning. You keep growing.
Was that Rocky where he's talking to his son? It was a great speech where Rocky's talking to his son, and he's like, you're only a loser if you get knocked down and you don't get up. Life is tough. It's going to knock you down, but you got to keep on getting up and keep on going forward.
Yep.
But that's business too. Like, that is some of the best business advice. But
that really means that you're a really tough loser, right? You're a tough loser. You get up after you lost and keep getting up to lose again, right? But it's okay. We'll agree to
I think a healthy mentality is
but to learn and just keep on moving forward.
Yeah. What's a healthy mentality, Mike?
I think just if you don't to understand that without every failure, how can you expect to win? You owe any success you have to all the failures in your past. That's why you should be thankful for all those ups and downs, especially the downs, because without them, you wouldn't be where you are. And I don't understand how anybody can go into anything without an appreciation for that, like you all are saying. I don't understand this.
Winner's mentality.
It's hard to back. No. Winning is a difficult thing to define, like you all have been saying. I think it's one of those unattainable goals. Because if you were to define yourself as a winner, it's what happens when you lose. Do you lose all value in your own life? Are you no longer who you thought you were, and you have to redefine your existence? I mean, I think.
Well, and I'm sure you've heard the quote from Michael Jordan, and Wayne Gretzky's got a very similar quote, and a lot of them, even the chess player, he'll tell you pretty much the same exact thing. Michael Jordan, somebody was interviewing him, and they're like, "Man, you're amazing at free throws," or something like that. And he's like, "What are you talking about? For every shot you see me make on the court, I've missed 1,000 off court." And Wayne Gretzky said the same thing when it came down to making, goal shots. He's like, you know how many failures, how many times I've missed off court? That's what you don't see.
We're talking Michael Jordan.
It took to get to me right here.
The Michael Jordan quote was talking about game-winning shots, right? And he said in his career, he made, 350 game-winning shots. What we don't tell you is how many he's missed, right? Which is triple the amount. Yeah. Okay. So I agree. David, you've been awfully quiet. You've been awfully quiet in this winner-loser mentality conversation.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to chime in here, right? So when it comes to the vision board, right, my task, my vision board, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And when I set my mind to it, I mean, you can look at my beautiful wife. I mean, when I set my mind to something, I'm getting it. Yeah. Okay. Whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. Okay.
I think that was luck.
Land stuff.
I think that
I'm
was
the
luck.
Finisher. No, I mean, she might have settled a little bit. She might have settled a little bit.
No,
we're not going to get it. It's a different podcast. It's different. So listen, whenever I go after something, it's happened. And failure's not an option. It is not, right? My goals that I have, they're not so far-fetched that it's not attainable, but it's going to take an awful lot of extra work, right? And you know what?
Yeah.
I'm already on track, right? Because then I start analyzing, okay, if I'm going to do this by December 31st of 23, I need to
Yeah.
do this in January. I need to have this by February. In March, into first quarter, I hit this mark. And guess what, guys? I'm on track. And even if I come
Yeah.
up a little bit short, I'm already pushing that envelope. I'm going to be there. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the way I set my goals. And trust me, it's a goal that I'll be the first in my family to ever achieve. Okay. And it's happening. So don't
That's
think
awesome,
it's
man.
not, right? And that law of attraction is a real thing, guys. But if you don't put it on the board, right,
Yeah.
you got to have it on the board. You got to write it down, or at least you got to think of it every day. You know,
Yeah.
you got to have that in sight, and you got to believe it. The universe is going to give it to you. I promise you. I promise
Give it to you.
I'm telling you. Well, I mean, okay. Well, don't think that at the end of the day, I don't look at myself as super fortunate, right?
Yes.
I call it luck sometimes to maybe some agnostics, right? But no, there's bigger stuff happening than just you and I. Okay.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, yes, I was quiet because I was just, sometimes I have to remember. I've been saying this to my kids, so I have to at least practice it. But 2 ears, 1 mouth, right? And for good reason. So I'm soaking a lot in. Okay. So I'm trying not to multitask a lot, right? Because I know that it can add stress, right? Stress is going to take years off your life. I've already got a little bit of gray up here, right? So I'm doing that. I'm setting time limits. Why? Because when Mr. Schmidt talked to me, that I don't know what day it was during the week, and I said, I've got all this to get done. He said, listen, do this, try it, give it a shot. By George, Mike knows what he's talking about. It works. It works. Okay. So yeah, so I'm setting aside some stuff and it works. Set time limits for tasks. That is a big deal. I don't have to set aside time for me to like get up and walk around. I'm a busybody. I can't sit at a desk very long, right? I'm up and walking around doing that and doing this. Maybe it's the coffee as well. That'll do that. That'll do it. But yeah, and taking breaks regularly, all that good stuff. Listen, at the end of the day, we know we've got to get done, right? You've got your deadlines. Everybody stay at it, right? Just keep moving forward. That's all. That's all. That's what I've got. That's what I take out of time management right now. And there are so many variables in it, right? Clint, Patrick, Mike, you guys all have so many. Each one of you are going to have different variables that I'm not going to have, right? So everyone has to take into that consideration and be able to set a schedule for themselves, whatever works best for them, right? It's always going to change. So, yeah. What do you got? Any last comments, guys?
I've got our Bible verse for tonight.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right.
So we're going with 1 Corinthians 9, verse 24 to 27. All right, Mike, pay attention. Okay, it's a good one for you, Mike. All right, here we go. Do you not know that in a race, all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Right now, Paul's telling you to be a winner. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, I do not run like someone aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No, I strike a blow to my body and make it my slave so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. That's Paul telling you it pays to be a winner. Little words.
Holy cow. There's so much in that. There's so much more than just that.
Patrick's about to have an aneurysm. He's like, I learn when I lose.
Listen. I think there's
Well, it's
so
not
much.
like I don't try to win, but I also don't try to win to the point where it's going to discourage the person that I'm trying to compete against. Because I have learned that. I used to play pool in high school, and I got to the point where I could beat almost anybody I played. And it got so bad that nobody wanted to play me. And I learned, that was a learning moment for me. I was discouraging anybody who wanted to play me because I would ridiculously humiliate them without me realizing it.
Do you throw some?
I would
Did you throw
intentionally
games?
put myself in bad positions to try to learn how to figure myself way, and I'd still beat them. And I quit playing. I haven't really played pool since because
Yeah.
it kind of sucked. You win so much when you win all the time, and nothing becomes a challenge anymore, and it becomes unfun, especially when nobody wants to play. Nobody in my family wants to play me in a Monopoly. Nobody plays me in any board
Hey,
game.
come see daddy.
Nobody.
Come on.
It's-
Come see daddy.
There's
I'll play
a
you.
mathematical formula on how to win, and I
Yeah.
figured it out. And I could share it. But if you follow this algorithm, you won't
Yeah.
lose. And they'll team up against you all day, but nobody wants to play me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, no family reunions, gatherings, nothing. Nobody wants
That's
to play.
ridiculous. You carry that's awesome. I can
Hey,
just,
right? Carry Monopoly into the family reunion. You're
I can
like,
just see
it's
what-
time. It's time.
I can just see you while you're working on this algorithm. Like you you got a Monopoly game with you, like everywhere you go, wanting to play everybody. That's awesome.
Just
Yeah.
killing all his family members.
Give them the utilities, give them the railroads. I don't care, but don't sell monopoly property. That's not what's gonna pay out over time.
Yeah.
Don't ever give up property.
Yep.
Well,
All right,
I've
guys.
got,
Railroads,
I've got,
you look at the payout for that crap,
Yeah.
$1,500, whatever.
I've got something for our listeners to take into consideration. It's about Mike. So I don't know, Clint. I don't think Mike's sleeping in the morning. I think really he's got his notifications on mute, and he's actually studying chess moves. Clint. It's starting. We're starting to the more podcast we've got Mike. We're starting to figure some more out about Mike. I mean, he's like a master chess player or something back here.
Listen, I text him in the morning every once in a while.
I built one
to
in
see,
college.
Right?
Built
I
a whole
text him
chess
in the
set.
mornings. He's up in the mornings. I give him a hard
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, no,
because
he is.
works. He works so late, so I give him a hard time. But I know he does get up early in the morning because I've texted him just to see if Mike was awake, and he responds. So I have no room to talk. I have no room to talk. Mike's one of the hardest working people I know. So
As
I
the
got
queen takes the rope.
I gotta show you those two latest websites, man. But anyway, that's another topic.
all right.
Oh, that's great. All right. Thank you, ladies and gents. We'll be back with another one shortly. Thank you. Leadership Ignite Group out. Don't forget to follow, like, and
Peace.
subscribe.
Winners.